Rich Coutinho, Mets blog, talking with Dillon Gee. Dillon, can you talk to me a little bit about what this ride has been for you so far? Because we're talking about historical things now, not just that you're on the ball club.
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, definitely couldn't ask for any more at this point. The guys have been playing absolutely fantastic behind me, and a lot of my success comes from that.
Talk to me a little bit about, you were not a guy that was, drafted in the first hour of the draft. You're a guy that had to wait a little bit. Yes. Could you talk to me through that process? Is that motivating a little bit, or is that something you kind of expected and you just knew you were going to have to work hard to get here?
I didn't know where I was going to go in the draft, and to be honest with you, the day I did get drafted, I was just excited to have that opportunity, and I was looking forward to coming out and playing baseball and seeing where that led. Definitely a lot of motivation though to want to prove people wrong and show people that I can be here.
One of the things that Omar Manal used to always say when he was here, he used to really tout your praises, even last spring training. Now you got a taste in September. How did that help you this year?
I think this game's all about experience, and so to be able to come up here last September and work with Dan and Tolly some more, and talk to the other big league pitchers, I think just out of that you've gained a lot of experience, and almost like you have another year under your belt of pitching. So that definitely helped me come in and have a little bit more confidence and not be so anxious the first time here.
Now, you're a guy that possesses a lot of pitches, and you're not afraid to throw change-ups in 2-0, 3-1 counts. That's not typical of a guy coming up into the major leagues initially. Is that something you've always had, or is that something that the Mets have kind of played to your strengths a little bit about?
It's probably not typical because most young guys coming to the big leagues throw 96. So I'm not a typical first guy up kind of guy, so I have to pitch a little bit above my years, I guess you could say. Like I said, I've learned a lot from the older pitchers that this is how guys like us get it done. So that's something I've tried to do.
Talking to Dan Worthen about you, the first couple times I saw you, it kind of struck me how poised you were. Even when things around weren't working, and I said to Dan, "Is that surprising?" He goes, "Not if you've talked to Dillon for about 20 minutes. You know that he's poised." How important is that to, when you get off to a rough start in the first inning, to kind of slow down the hemorrhaging and then kind of get your sea legs and just go on inning and inning?
Well, it's really important to, especially when you give up a couple runs in the early innings. There's a lot of game left to play, and like we've showed in the past few games, as long as you keep them there, we might come back. We can come back. So definitely, you don't want the snowball effect where you just start throwing your hands around, and all of a sudden you're not worried about the task at hand. And it's all about the in the moment. You got to be in the moment with every pitch, and just try to limit whatever damage they do.
Now, you've gone up against some tough pitchers, and the Mets have won those games that you've pitched in. I mean, for a young pitcher, sometimes it's easy to get caught up in who you're pitching against, but you're really not pitching against him. You're pitching against the other team's lineup. I mean, but do you get jacked up for those big matchups against, I'm talking about the Brave matchups you've had have been really big ones.
Yeah, those were definitely two great pitchers. So I think it's tough not to say, man, this one's going to be a tough one because of who you're facing. But at the same time, like you said, we've heard it a million times, I'm not throwing against Jurgens or Hudson. I'm throwing against their offense. So as long as I do my job and try to help the team, I think you just rely on the other guys to pick you up and play well behind you.
And what about this team? I mean, you won't hear from the beginning opening day, but there's been a lot of stuff not only going on the field, but stuff off the field too. And we talk to Terry Collins about this on a daily basis. This team seems kind of really focused on one mission and is kind of able to close that out. Is that something that guys like Beltran and Reyes have kind of been vocal about, or is that something that just everyone in this room kind of has that innate ability?
I think it starts at the top. Terry, as soon as things started kind of happening off the field, he came in and said, "Hey, we're not going to deal with this, guys. We're going to get it over with, and our job's to play baseball." And the older guys, Beltran and them, have really stepped up and said, "Hey, these things we will deal with, and it's about what we're doing on the field. So let's just concentrate on baseball. We're all here to play baseball."
And you guys have some fun too, because I'm in this locker room every day, and there's no taboo subjects here. There's nobody who's above pulling a practical joke on someone else. How does that help get through a 162 game season?
Absolutely. That's one of the things I've noticed already being up here. It's like it seems like this team right now is really gelling, and everybody has a lot of fun with each other, and it's really lighthearted in the dugout and in the clubhouse. So it's definitely makes it a lot of fun to play on teams like that, and usually when you have fun, good things happen.
Have you ever been around a guy as effervescent as Jose Reyes?
No, that guy's unbelievable. He's a freak.
And, when we walk into the clubhouse and you see Jose Reyes with all this kinetic energy, I mean, the first thought in your mind is, how can he have that and then retain it for 9 innings? But it looks like he could play 5 games a day.
Yeah, and not only have that much energy for 9 innings, but he does it every day. I mean, the guy rarely has a day off, and it just speaks to Jose and how well how good of a player he really is, and he's shown it.
And a lot of players in this room have told me that the cool thing about it is some guys do that and it looks fake, okay? But with him, it's genuine because the throttle never closes. And I mean, is when you first met him, did you say, how can he do this? And now you're saying, well, this is Jose.
Yeah, at first, if you only see him on TV playing in games, you might think that that's the only time he's like that. But if you're around him enough, everything he does, he's like that. He does everything 100 miles an hour, and he's always got that grin on his face all the time. I've never seen anybody as happy as him all the time. And that's another thing that I think rubs off on everybody on this team.
One final one. I mean, obviously, you're sitting in a major league locker room, and the locker next to you is Johan Santana's, and everyone is anxious for him to come. We don't know whether he's going to come here or not, but knowing where this team is, do you kind of stop and think if Johan gets here on August 15th and we're 3 games out of a playoff spot, that could be a pretty good acquisition at the trading deadline?
I mean, absolutely. Johan's obviously the ace of the staff, and everybody's desperately waiting for him to come back, and can't wait for him to be back. And we definitely think that he's definitely doing his work down in Florida right now, and he's going to come back and he's going to be ready to go. And like you said, that's a pretty good acquisition at the trade deadline.
Dillon, thanks for taking the time and joining us on Mets Blog. I'm looking forward to watching you pitch, and maybe there's a game during the All-Star break I might like to see you pitch in too as well. So stay well, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it.